then you know that mom and dad gave it to me. It doesn't have any meaning at all. Except that that's what they drive right now. But if they bought it based on one of these personality patterns. If they're visual, it's going to be sporty or fast looking, or a luxury car. A newer one, not an older one. If they're an auditory, they're going to drive a car that is practical, not necessarily fast, but like Rob Sharp's car, it got in there. This auditory we knew. It got in there. Of course, it never got in there when it rained, but he could fix that later with a hairdryer. But it always got in there. It was just basic dependable transportation. That's all a car is to an auditory, is transportation, if it feels the need. And a kinesthetic is going to buy a car that either makes them feel good when they're driving it, these great big boat cars, or a truck. You know, in Utah you see a lot of this 4x4 stuff, because it makes them feel like a man, right? Okay. Or it's going to be one of those luxury cars. And it may be new or it may be old. But most important is that it makes them feel good. The car makes them feel good.
Which one always has the clean one?
The visual always has a clean one. Is clean next?
Driving.
Okay. We'll get into clean in a few minutes. But the visual always has a clean one. Auditory is always a mess. And kinesthetic is sometimes a mess and sometimes not. Okay. Driving. The way they drive, the visuals almost always drive faster than anybody else. Because they're in a hurry, because they want to get there. And they know the way, and they're going to get there fast, and you better get out of their way. The visual is usually the guy on the freeway who runs up behind you, if you're an auditory or kinesthetic, and you're in the fast lane, and he runs up behind you as fast as his car will take him, and he lays on his horn, and then he swerves to the right and goes around you, and you never see him again. That's the visual. He's gone. He's gone. Okay. The auditory, he's the one in the fast lane going slowly. And if you're the visual back there, he's going na 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 na, right? Because he
flips you off.
He might flip you off. I have a brother who's an auditory, and we had a discussion about this, and he said, "It's my right to be there. I'm going 55, and I'm doing just fine." He says, "And if you want to go faster, you're breaking the law, so I can get in your way, and I'm doing just fine."
That's what they're at.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. Fitting the pattern here, aren't you? Kinesthetics? Kinesthetics are usually in the fast lane.
They're the reckless driver.
And they're probably going 45. And they don't know that they're not supposed to be in that lane going that fast. They have probably never... Sorry.
No, I don't do that.
Okay, good. Because we still like you.
I'm visual when I drive.
He drives fast.
Just the stress changes, you just do...
Is that it? Yeah.
Could be. But what happens is most kinesthetic drivers have never seen that sign that says, keep right except pass. Either that or when they went by it, they were accessing some feeling about something else, looking down, and they didn't really see it. Okay. A lot of kinesthetics drive slowly in the fast lane. In fact, when they drive, their arms like this.
Yeah. Oh, God. That's
But I drive fast though.
He drives really fast.
Now we're going to get to timing here and punctuality.
I have broken 2 seats in 2 cars.
Yeah, his
Because of
seats
driving
are
like just like that. But these were cheap foreign cars.
Cheap foreign
Not
cars.
foreign cars. I mean, these were the real cheap ones. These are older cars. But the seats,
Let me see
in
if I can get
both
the
cars,
picture here.
yeah. And eventually the seat. That's right.
And he's usually reading something when he's driving.
See,
I'll
what
do
we
other
do,
things.
he can do 2 or 3 games at a time, and will do. Okay, but a visual. Okay. Home. Okay, this one is really important for you realtors, okay? People will almost always buy the same kind of home time after time after time. Almost every time they'll buy the same kind of home they have. If their first home was a 2-story, their second home will be a 2-story, and their third home will be a 2-story. And on and on and on. If their first home was a ranch style, the next one's going to be ranch, and on and on and on. If the first one was a condo, the next one will probably be a condo. Not necessarily, but probably be
Townhouse.
townhouse. They'll move up. Okay. You see what I'm saying? They'll buy the same kind. And so what you need to do is not only know the inventory like we talked about earlier, but you also need to, if you're going to show a buyer a home, you need to go see the home they came from. Because they're going to buy a home quite a bit like that. Not always like that, but quite a bit like that. If you can't actually see the home, and you're meeting them here at the office, say, would you mind, on the phone, would you mind, before you leave home, would you mind bringing a picture of the home you live in now? Or the last home you owned, or something like that? And the reason for that is then you can see the house. Then you know what they lived in, and you can more easily say, that's what they're going to buy. They may be moving up, or they may be moving down in size, but it's still going to be basically the same style. Now, that's not always true, but it's generally true. Now, if somebody changes patterns, they could switch from a ranch to a two-story or condo or whatever. And you have no way of knowing that for sure, but generally speaking, that's correct. Okay. Well,
Also,
let's go back
money
to home.
affects it.
Excuse me?
Some people can only afford a condo.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's all they can afford. So what are they gonna do? If they're visuals and all they can afford is a condo, they're gonna get the biggest condo they can get. Or if they can't get a big one, they're gonna get one that looks big, that's got vaulted ceilings, an open floor plan, open space, so it looks bigger than it really is. And it might be light colored on the outside, because remember, white houses and light colored homes look bigger, so that's what they're gonna get. If they're an auditory, they're probably gonna buy a fixer-upper if they're an auditory. Okay. The visual will almost never buy a fixer-upper, because they have this picture in their mind of what it's gonna look like, and that's the way it's gotta look when they get there, because they have a hard time fixing it up. And the kinesthetic might buy a fixer-upper, but what they really care about is that it makes them feel good. It makes them feel good. This house is their home. This home is their castle. And this is where they live. And it's important that they be able to have their own privacy with their own family in their home. And that's the kinesthetic. Now, decor, when it comes to the decor of the home, you can tell something about these people that way too. The visual will have decor that matches almost perfectly. Looks like a model home. The sofas and the tables and everything in every room matches. In the auditory, we'll usually have a home that, well, we got this couch at this garage sale, and we got this chair at this garage sale. Okay? Not always, but quite often that's what will happen, is they get a bargain, or somebody gave one. I mean, it's perfectly good. I wasn't going to throw it away or give it to Goodwill. So I'm using it. It's great. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way the auditories are. And the kinesthetics, if it matches, they will have furniture that makes them look like they're being surrounded by a nest. It's real folksy. It's like wood paneling or wood trim that's in natural wood colors. If it's not paneling, it's the trim, all the different woods in the house. And the woods not always match, but sometimes they match.
I was going to say, like, sometimes we go into a home and we see it's very cluttered. It's nice, but it's too cluttered with too many things, so you can say this is kinesthetic.
That's kinesthetic. You know why? Because they display things that have some kind of meaning to them. Now, I have a machete that I tell everybody who says, don't you have a big knife around here? And so, when we're cutting a roast, I bring out the machete, right? It's this one. And I say, yeah, I hacked my way through the jungles of El Salvador with this. But I don't have it displayed on the wall, but a kinesthetic might. And my wife's sister just was in Nepal, and she brought me a knife, which is about this long, and I love knives. And it's called a kukri, and it's a curved blade. Well, if I were kinesthetic, that would be on the wall next to the machete. But it's not. They're hiding underneath something. Art. The art that they display is also important. The visual will display art or enjoy art that looks like somebody just took a picture. That picture over there looks like visual art. Vince, did you pick that out?
No, my brother.
Okay. Is your brother visual?
You don't know.
No.
Okay, usually that's the case. That one back there, the reason I'm going to say this is kinesthetic is because it displays actually two things. It displays action and emotion. Kinesthetics are, so as you walk around their home, you look at the pictures, or if they have a lot of pictures of their family, that's important to them too. But they're the ones who will display pictures of kids on swings, or the old man with a hole in his sole of a shoe or something like that. Because it makes them feel something, whether it's good or bad or something, but something makes them feel something. And the auditory, I don't know, do you remember the art we had in our office? it's kind of faded. If an auditory picture art, it's almost like it's out of focus a little bit. If you ever go into a bank, look at the art in a bank, it's almost always the same. Different pictures, but basically the same. It's not real life. It's just kind of there. And it's soothing and it's easy, but it doesn't really mean anything to you.
Like blends of colors.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, like that.
And now I had pictures of dolphins and the sea and rocks, but it was so,
detail.
it was not detailed at all. There was no detail to it at all. And the reason because I didn't pick an auditory. I bought the office. And that came in. Okay, so did you get the picture? Okay, next.
Clean.
Okay, clean, we're gonna talk about that. The visual loves clean. The visual will stop anytime and start cleaning something. They'll wipe down a counter. And in fact, I worked for a guy a long time ago that while you're sitting at your desk talking, he'd walk by with this, with the pledge and start moving stuff to the side of your desk and clean your desk for you. Get out of here, Bob. Drove me crazy. Gosh, leave me alone. But he did that. I mean, he was cleaning everything all the time. Never failed. And the auditory could take it or leave it, whether it's clean. The kinesthetic is about the same when it comes to cleaning. They like things in their place, but if they get out of place, then it's not that easy to do. But the visual, it's a fetish with that. It has to be spotless. In fact, part of the reason is because the visual sees things. They'll see dirt on the mirror, where the auditory and the kinesthetic won't see it. You know, little spots or the visual. You're saying, yeah, because you've seen it. But the auditories are going, I don't know what you're talking about. No.
What about their workplace?
In the workplace? Well, that's generally the same.
They
know
keep their desk differently, or do they?
Visuals generally are better ordered on their desk, generally, but not always. I'll tell you this though, a visual, if it's not perfectly ordered, he can tell you where anything is on that desk. It's under these 3 pieces of paper.
What did you say about kinesthetic?
It's no big deal to them. Clean's clean, but, I mean, they want it clean, but they're not gonna stop what's really important to clean. They're gonna get it clean when it comes time to get it clean. Okay, quit laughing at Vince, I like Vince.
Is that Millie laughing?
No, she's laughing at herself.
Yeah.
Good.
I clean the kitchen the most in the office.
See ya?
But it's totally, it's like when it's a wreck.
Yeah,
I
when
go
it-
in and get all pissed off and clean.
Yeah, so you visuals, go in the kitchen once in a while, take a little look see.
Yeah, take a
You'll
look.
hate it.
Yeah.
Punctuality.
They do though, but they tell you, ooh, the kitchen, it's
Yeah.
a wreck.
No, does she do that to you?
Yeah.
Vince, will you
Ooh.
go clean the kitchen? Remember, they don't like to do it, but they like to have it done. Okay, punctuality. Tell you the story about
Ray's here, let's get on Ray's case.
punctuality.
Oh.
I told you last week that my father was 2 hours late for my wedding, didn't I? Well, he fits in a pattern that I'm going to tell you about. The visuals love to be on time. They'll start on time. They'll be the first ones through the door. They'll probably be early for an appointment. The auditories, if it's logical, they'll be there on time. If it's not logical, then they won't be there on time. They'll just be late. They're busy doing something, and depending, they'll figure it out in their mind. What's most important, whether they be punctual or whether they get done what they're doing. Kinesthetics more often will get lost in what they're doing and not realize what time it is. And that's what my dad was doing when it came time for me to get married. He got lost in what he was doing. He was selling real estate. He was out showing homes early in the morning. And he was late for my wedding. Well, that's just the way it was. Sorry. What's your name again?
Ray.
Ray. So, please don't get lost in what you're doing. That's what Vince is saying. Please don't get lost in what you're doing. Come to meetings on time. Ray.
I lost
Okay.
it in bed.
Punctuality is, next is illness. Okay,
Lost under the covers.
when it comes to illness, people get sick based on their personality patterns. The visuals will get sick from here on up. Almost all visuals have some kind of nasal problem, or head congestion, or headaches, migraines. Visuals get them, where the other patterns don't usually get them. They might get them, but they probably won't. Visuals, I used to have a real sinus problem until I kicked it with hypnosis. But I don't anymore, but I could have very easily. And I used to have migraine headaches. course, that was part of my addiction to Diet Coke. I done with Diet Coke. Anyway, remember when I used to get Diet Coke, 10 o'clock, I mean, anyway. But I used to get throbbing headaches. My head would be about to explode. Okay, visuals get those kinds of things. Auditories get sick from here to here. Okay, they're the ones that are going to get lung problems. They're going to get more problems with their stomachs, hiatal hernia, ulcers. Remember, they didn't release their stress, so they kept it in, so they got ulcers. They get those kinds of things. Kinesthetics is what you have to look forward to unless you change things.
Heart attack.
Arthritis, rheumatism, gout, something that has to do with more of the entire body. And it's funny, and you say, come on, but it's true. That's what it is. Now, you might get something later on in life that's based on a personality pattern that started when you had that personality pattern. Okay. And you may die from it. You may be sick on this trip. Okay? In a sales situation, this is very important. Now that you know what these people are like, before we do that, let's go on to the countries. The countries that they come from, our visuals come from Scandinavian countries, Europe, Northern Europe actually, more when they come to America. More of those people will be visuals, and a lot of Americans are visual, but not, and I read a book that talked about this a little bit. And he said that almost all Americans are visual. Almost all Americans are visual. This guy has never been into America, if he thinks that. But I'll tell you something. Television is visual. And everybody on TV, almost every person you see on TV is visual. Okay? But that doesn't mean that we all are in America. The auditories mostly come from, what was I going to tell you about Asia? China and Japan, those Asian, the Pacific Rim. The people who come to America from there are almost all auditories. They've got enough money, they've saved it, they've scrounged and scraped until they finally got enough money, and they've got $1 zillion when they come here, right? These people are more often auditory than kinesthetic or visual. Not always, but almost always. And they may confuse you even with their car, because sometimes they'll buy visual cars. But almost always, they're visual, they're auditory. And the kinesthetics come from South America, Central America, and some from Europe.
Ireland.
Excuse me?
Ireland.
Ireland, yeah.
Ireland? What did you
That's what
say?
makes us think so.
Okay, that's the countries. Now, in a sales situation, how do you deal with these people? What do you do? Now that we've talked about all of these and you've got it figured out which one you think you are, which is probably wrong, how do you deal with it? What good is this? Well, in a sales situation, a visual is going to have to see something. You could probably sell a kinesthetic or an auditory house without having them see it. But you'll never sell a visual unless you see it. Okay. And auditory, the most important thing to an auditory in a sales situation is that they get the best deal possible. If they're not getting a bargain, or at least they think they're getting the best bargain of the day, they're not going to buy it. I had a doctor friend in Salt Lake that I was trying to sell his condo, and the buyer was an auditory. And these guys went back and forth and back and forth, and I mean, the buyer was a banker. I was in real trouble already. But these guys went back and forth until, you know what it boiled down to? It was a resort condo up by Park City. And this guy, the buyer, wanted to spend one free night in a condo before he would sign the deposit receipt. That was all it was hinged on. You wanted a free night stay in a hotel? Essentially, that's what he said. And you know what the auditory seller said? I'll give him anything, but I won't give him that. We'd already given him almost everything. They're the tough negotiators. They're the ones, in fact, who in these days right now, in this economy that we're in now, they're the ones who really have the most money, because the visuals have already spent all their money. And they bought a couple of years ago, right when it was too late to buy. And so they're upside down in their house, and they're the ones that are trying to sell. And the kinesthetics don't have much money, because they've been buying all the toys, their boats and their cars and or trucks and things like that. So the most buyers you're going to get right now are going to be auditory. So how do you deal with it? Very carefully, because they're going to be most of your buyers, the auditories. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of benefits here. when you're dealing with a kinesthetic, remember, he can think of more than one thing at a time. So when you're showing him the house, he may be, well, let's go back to listing. Suppose you're listing somebody's property, and you've got your paperwork set out on the table, and you're explaining it to him. His mind's often never land, because he can think of 2 or 3 things at a time, so try and keep him contained, or her contained. Keep them right there where you are. And auditory is gonna give you a lot of trouble in the negotiation. Remember, they want everything they can get, so they're gonna list higher than it's worth, and they're gonna sell for more than it appraises for. So be careful when you're negotiating with them on the listing contract. Also with them on the listing contract, make sure that you go through everything and explain it to them. If they want it, they're gonna need it. A visual doesn't care necessarily. All he wants to do, or she, is they want to be able to see the results. So what you want to do with a visual is bring maybe a couple of testimonials from past sellers that you've listed, saying, this particular agent did a great job, and I love them, and they're wonderful, and they handled all the details. You know, whatever a testimonial might say. But once the visual sees something like that, they're going to be persuaded to do business with you. They have to see something. Visuals are real tough to sell if they can't see something. Okay? That's a sales situation. Now back to the benefits and the problems. Kinesthetics can think of more than one thing at a time, but their mind might be somewhere else at the same time. And auditory has 3 problems. So if any of you are auditory prone, keep this in mind. Or you know someone, you're dealing with someone who is, you never yell at an auditory. Don't ever yell at them. Get mad at them. Because if you yell at them, it turns them off. And what they'll do is just like a light switch, they'll flip you off and they won't hear a thing you say if you're yelling at them. Okay? If the next thing is you don't give them an order. You don't command them to do something. Like if you're out, I'll tell you about my life. We were voting for, years ago, there was this guy that was running for public office, and he was the political party that I really like. And I knew my wife did too, but I told her I made a mistake. I said, you have to vote for him. To this day, what's it been, about 20 years, she'll tell me that she voted for the other guy. I don't know who she voted for, because I didn't go to the booth with her. But she'll tell me that she voted for the other guy, because that's the way she was. She was an auditory, and she had to do just the opposite. Okay. And the other thing is, when you're dealing with an auditory, explain to them up front what's going on. They'll try and pigeonhole every thing that you tell them, and if they can't, for instance, if you're saying, well, we had a list at 189.9. Well, they're trying to figure out why you're saying it. What you need to do with an auditory is explain to them, give them the facts first, and say, these are the comps, and based on these comparables, this is what your home is worth, 189.9 or whatever. Okay. But give them that information first. With a visual and auditory, visual and kinesthetic, you don't necessarily need to do that. You can say, you ought to list it 189.9, and this is why. Does that help? Okay. Any questions about personalities? Where any of you fall? Anybody got any comments you want to make about that?
Well, I was just gonna say, it seems like we all kind of go between it, and is it the stress you're under at the moment, that causes you to
That's right.
transpose these things?
That's
so
right.
You can be one kind.
And you can be all 3 kinds. In fact, the best of all worlds is all 3 kinds. And I know a gal who is all 3 at almost all times. Her house is cluttered with all kinds of knickknacks and stuff, and she has an organ in her living room and a piano both, and she drives a white Cadillac. And that's, incidentally, by the way, white and light blue and silver are colors for visuals, also red and black. But they'll never buy, well, not never, but very seldom buy a darker color other than black. But yeah, and what happens though is people they'll fall into a buying pattern. And they'll either be a visual buyer or an auditory buyer or a kinesthetic buyer. And you can see that by the things we've done here. The car, all of these other things that we've listed. Once you figure out what they are, then you're more able to deal with them in a sales situation. Does that help? Okay, so anybody here think they're an auditory? You think you are. And you think you are.
I'm not sure.
Do you like to wear a tie?
Yeah.
Do you?
I could be a visual. I could be. I'm
What
not
kind of
really.
car
I'm
do
not
you-
really
what
sure
kind
what
of
I
car
am
do you
actually.
drive?
Huh?
What kind of car do you drive?
A truck.
Okay, let's take a break for about just 5 minutes, because the next part is about a 20-minute portion, and we need to get right into it. We'll take a break. 5 minutes.
I could be not. I don't know.
Who are you?
No, I'm not sure.
Maybe not, because I have no idea,
Why did I do that?
well, yeah.
Well, you know, it's kind of like I have a little bit of a visual, a little bit of
That's what I
auditory.
see. I
I
think
got a little bit of.
find yourself in
That's why she does it.
I think
Maybe
because
she knows
in my
that
life, I
she can
think
win.
I've been a visual. But I think now I'm maybe turning to an auditory. See what I'm saying? I'm not sure though. It's kind of like.
I'd say I'm more, I'm kind of saying,
I'll play where
My immediate response is, that's really arbitrary.
I might, you know, I just
You know, this isn't.
hard to figure.
She's probably visual,
Yeah, do you think so?
probably.
Is there a test you can
But she
do
doesn't like,
so you figure out what you are?
Well, actually, as you go down through these, put an X in each one, in the appropriate column, whichever one you think you are, and then total it.
I get that excited. I don't do
Okay, tell me, what kind of car do you drive?
I drive a car only because that's all the money I had. I have an 84 Escort,
Okay, that doesn't help. Then what kind of house do you live in?
what I can afford, 2 bedrooms.
Is it a condo? What's the decor like? Do you have, like, matching everything?
Yeah, I try to keep things matching,
Okay.
but I get them good
Figure out
prices.
what you are.
Okay, well,
out of area.
I like wearing shorts. But I don't mind.
With a tie?
I don't mind
Just
wearing
ones on
a
your
tie.
head, on your back?
I don't know. I could be like a company.
Well, that's what I thought I fit in with.
No, he likes wearing.
Kind of,
He likes playing
I
basketball.
get headaches a lot, but I don't really feel like I fit in it. On the other hand, I don't know.
Well, everybody's a little bit all, everybody's a little bit of all. It's like I said at the beginning. You're not all just one. That would mean, it would be like going around with one leg. I'm right-legged, so I can't use the left leg.
I know a guy who's out there wore the heavy leg, but on the short leg, he had the shoe facing like backwards. And some people, I tell that story, some people think, oh, wow, that was sad. I thought it was great.
I think it's great. too.
Yeah, because it was like, it got my attention.
He must be visual.
You might be.
Short leg.
But see, you can't base it on any just one. You have to use at least a half a dozen.
Well, yeah, you could go down and, you know, I numbered them 1, 2, 3, and then you could just put those
Yeah.
numbers next to it.
I would say I'm probably more out of the middle one.
More audible.
I'm not very visual.
Well, the real test comes.
Well, I listen to music and I visualize.
I like country music, like Vince does too.
Vince listens to country
Yeah,
music.
he listens to country music.
I know. I know it.
You like the same kind of music I do.
Yeah, well,
And I don't like sometimes.
Are most,
so you may be more just that. I'm guessing by your hairstyle and your clothes. Because your clothes are comfortable.
Yeah.
They look nice, but they're comfortable.
Yeah, I have no portion more hair. Yeah, I can style it.
I bet you hate to wear long dress with evening gloves and that sort of thing.
I wear it myself
where
now.
the world are you coming from?
Do we do things like that around here? No, I don't dress up.
No.
I don't dress up. I don't wear jewelry. I don't like rings. I like
Unless the fingers are cut off, then maybe you may wear that.
There was some cotton stuff in there.
Bold.
No. It just means that you don't, most aesthetics don't do it. However, they should, because,
I need to be really
especially real estate, because then because you like to be out and about.
Yeah, I like people who walk. Vince, I'm just like that.
The visuals are the ones that spot people like that.
Yeah, when I talk to my kids, it's just my favorite. This guy.
So what are perverts?
Grace.
Disgusting.
They're happy.
How about half a time like me? How about half a?
You see, in
Total
auditory,
auditory.
I have a friend who's a business analyst, and he never wears a tie. And the reason he doesn't wear a tie is not because he hates wearing it, but it's just inappropriate in his work. He sits in an office all day after day, and works on his computer, and he's probably going to go blind. So he never wears a tie, unless he has a business meeting, then it's time, because it's appropriate. He's on auditory. He's an analyst.
I put it down because I have to, but if I put it all the way up there, I choke.
You see, I have a rule in my office that everybody had to wear a tie. Guys, all the guys had to wear a tie, and all the girls had to wear dresses while they were working. I had some weird days, but that was one of them. And I had a real problem with one of the agents. He hated me. And every time he came in, he would complain about something.
So you can tell what everyone is.
Pretty much, you're kinesthetic. You probably never wear a white shirt.
They have more visual. Right?
What kind of car do you drive? See, that's a visual car.
Go in the cars, okay? Came up here with
Well, ask him what
two
he
brand new
rents.
cars, okay? And I asked them what I wanted in the cars, and whatever they had ready, I took. And the other cars I had are used. I mean, as far as
Are
color.
you a real
never.
hard negotiator?
In certain areas, yes.
They're not as well.
How long does it take you to buy a car?
Mentally in my mind, I'll think about it for about 2 months, 3 months, and then I go in there and I make a deal, you know, when I'm ready
That's
to
more
buy
of a kinesthetic approach. See, because an auditory will think about it for a couple of months, and then they'll read some more books on it.
it. You know, I'll read it, I'll analyze, I'll check the price and everything else, and I go in there, I've got in my mind already what it's going to be. If I get that deal, I get it. If I don't, I go down the street and get it.
Well, you know, I think I'm a combination.
I'm a combination.
Everybody's a
Everybody's
combination. Everybody's a
Because I have a
combination.
lot of the auditory and I have a lot of the visual too.
Well, everybody is a combination, but what you buy in most, that's the one that you favor. So if you have,
Because I'm a real hard negotiator.
are you? And what kind of car did you say you had?
I drive a truck.
A truck.
That's kind of like, you know, that's what like the best thing at the time that I could get.
And it's functional.
Yeah, it was practical.
I drive a Ferrari.
Okay.
You don't want to.
And you know what? And I'm considering switching cars because this car is no longer becoming practical.
That's an auditory response. It doesn't necessarily mean.
Even I caught onto that. Not practical.
It's just not logical to have that. So many ways.
You go in their car.
I had a truck with a
Yeah, you did. What happened?
showing the property.
Get in the back. We'll show you this next.
Yeah, it's full of snow.